doing? Hey, KB, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're not gonna stay on too long tonight, and Tujuana should be on any minute. But let's get it started. We were talking about doing the love languages, but I think we might save that for next time. And then another podcast friend of mine, he was doing the. I know, you know what? KB might know how to say this better than I do. An enneagram.
Oh, I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah, that
Yeah.
testament. So, and I told him what I am, which it's so interesting because mine is very strong. And so I was like, I wonder if that's really me. But yeah, I think it probably is. I'm just not tapping into it. So I said maybe we should do that one too. So yeah, I'm an ENFJ-A, the protagonist, and I was like, ooh, Crystal. So I said, am I tapping into that protagonist enough? So I said, you know what? Maybe we'll do two. We'll do our love language. We'll do our enneagrams next time, and yeah, maybe we'll do something else fun. But today we're going to talk about marriage be hard conversations. And Kev and Melissa, we're talking to the Campbells, Warren and Erica, and that was actually really interesting.
Yes.
Okay, KB, what did you? I can't wait to get Tawana's take on it too. What did you think about just a general overview of that conversation of that couple and that conversation?
I liked that. I thought it was a very real conversation to have because I think they talked, communication be hard, which is real, right? And then also the integration of the families and how you think that one thing is normal, but then your family thinks that something else is like, that's real.
I
That's
thought so
very
too. That's what I got. The how families maneuver differently. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And but besides that, they weren't even prepared for being married. Like they were just like he treated her like his sister or like a big kid, and I just thought that's interesting. He wanted to play a game where he was like, "No, you sit on my feet, like sit on." I was like, "Wait,
Yes.
wait." And she wasn't prepared for this, and I'm like, "You didn't ask him. Well, what are you gonna do once I get up there? Like, what is happening?" So, and he just, or he would like throw stuff, and she's supposed to catch it, and I said, she's not your sister," but they were totally not prepared for, and
No.
it's important to have a good time and have fun in a relationship, and be able to laugh. But I was like, they just weren't even. They were like hanging out. I just thought that's what kind of got me. Um, that's one thing that really got me. And I'll go back when Tawana comes in and ask her because I really want to know her take on it too. Um, so I thought that another thing that was really interesting was don't go to bed mad. What did you think of that? Because that's also the family dynamic too.
Yes. Now, and I think it's real because I think so. Before they said that, one of the things that they were talking about was watching their parents, right? And you do get a lot of stuff from your parents, right? Like it's like your idea of whether or not to go to bed angry or not, it depends completely on are the parents the type of people that will actually be able to resolve conflict very well. Like, can they actually stop and apologize? Or are they, like Kev would joke, you want food? Are you hungry? Like, you know what I mean? So, but
Right.
yeah, I thought that was really, yeah.
You know what, and that's why I like doing this show specifically with people because you kind of hit the nail on the head with that one because we talk about taking accountability, and if you didn't really witness taking accountability
Yes.
early on or having your mother take accountability or things like that, how are you going to know to do that? And as an adult, how are you going to know that this is how I should communicate with my man or stuff like that? So I just thought that was interesting because Erica started talking about the female ego, but also we're going to start with the fun stuff because they were talking about, did you train your kids? And my mother definitely trained me. Like
How do you think she changed it?
well, just on several things, the money stuff, yes, but getting up early, I'm a morning person because of her. Like we got up early and then, we did, we talked about this last time about, getting everything cleaned and stuff. She actually would, and when we were younger, because she knew I would wake up late, she would actually set my clock, and I would think it was one time, but it was something different. Like she would set my clock 20 minutes, like not even 20 minutes, probably half an hour to an hour early. She would do stuff like that. And I wouldn't catch it for a while. And then I'm like, wait a minute, these other clocks say something else. Yeah, she would do stuff like that. So she trained me on those type of things. So when Kevin Melissa said, oh
Yes.
no, call time is this, and they said that's definitely training. We definitely did that. So we got to ask Tujuana how she trained her kids. So
Yes. Yes.
can you hear us?
Can y'all see me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, you can. Okay. Hey guys.
So, okay, we're gonna go back a little bit. What did you think? So we're doing the Campbells. What did you think? Just an overall view of the Campbells.
I think they're fun.
I thought the same thing.
I think they are a lot of fun. Just like everyday people,
Right.
like I don't, how like some people like put celebrity marriages up on a pedestal and be like, oh, marriage goals.
Yep.
They go through the same struggles just like everybody else.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so we were just talking about that. What did you think about the don't go to bed mad?
I'm sorry. It sounds good, but sometimes, like Melissa, don't talk to me right now while I'm mad. Give me some space. I need to process, and then we can talk about it. Because if you want to talk to me while I'm angry, we're not going to be friends no more.
And you know what's so funny? When I was younger, I definitely heard the don't go to bed mad, solve it before you go. And then I was like, well, people are different. Like you need, give me my 10 minutes or give me however long it takes me to like cool down and process this. And probably in the morning, I won't be mad at you no more.
Right. Yeah. You need that time to process.
So we were talking about, okay, so the training your kids. Did you train your kids?
Train them
and just anything. So remember when Kev and Melissa was saying that the call time was, is this time. They said they consciously trained them, and I was telling Kay that my mother definitely trained me in different things in life, but
in different things, like how to wash your own clothes, how to clean.
Was there any subconscious stuff that I was just saying? Because like I'm a morning person because of her. Like she would literally set my clock a different time. Like, and I would jump up thinking I'm late. Like she would do that.
Oh, my mom tried to do that with me. It's just I like my sleep too much.
My mom never did that with me.
My mother was like, as soon as the sun comes up, she's getting ready for work.
Yes.
You got to call me like 10 different times. Get up.
Definitely trained me.
No, my kids love to sleep. Listen, the three of us in the house, we will sleep through a hurricane. It can blow the roof off. And we be like, ooh, where the blankets? It's cold in here. Get the blankets.
So I'm the only one on the panel that's actually like my mother trained me just different stuff. Like, yes, the laundry and stuff like that. And that is so interesting. Just, I guess, and I'm trying to think of other stuff, but definitely time management. And she just trained me on being an early bird. Absolutely trained me on that.
Your eyebrows look great.
Yes, they do. They really do.
you okay, Crystal, Lynette? I see you. Let me get my eyebrows together.
But we were going to go into the female ego because I don't know how we started on that, KB, because that was we started on the don't go to bed early and how Melissa was saying, you know what, I need that time. I need that to
Yeah.
step away
Yeah.
and just process.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, I don't know, the male ego, everybody used to talk about the male ego all the time, but I don't know, I feel like sometimes we would take things personally and we need time to process. Like, is he offending me or is he just saying that? Like, why did he say that? Why did he say that thing like that?
Right.
So I feel like Erica, she took a lot of offense early on in the marriage because she just didn't know.
Well, yeah. Well, I think you know, because no one talks about marriage, you're left to romanticize it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you romanticize something, and then thinking, oh, this is how it's going to be. And then reality hits, it's like, this is not what I signed up for. Right. Because, like, when she said, like, early on in their marriage, when he would come home from work, she'd be waiting upstairs in the bedroom, like, he's going to come in, be romantic. He downstairs
Right.
playing Xbox.
Yes.
Right. But he also, and that's what I was just talking about, that he
Yes.
thought it was going to be like a big kid. Like he thought that they were going to be like best friends and he's
Yeah.
like games with her and stuff like
That
that.
was funny.
And that was so funny. That was so funny. We're going to go back over that because he was like, oh no, stand on my hands. And he's like,
Yeah,
and she's like, wait a
sit on
minute.
my feet. I'm gonna shoot
Yes.
you in the air.
But in
Sir.
her household, they didn't do that. And she did.
But she
I was
grew up
like,
with
well,
all girls.
good point.
A house full of women, right?
That walk around naked.
I gotta
Walking
say
around in
something
your
though.
bra
I gotta say
panties.
Yes.
that's absolutely we not me necessarily because I actually had brothers, but my mother would just walk around in her bra.
Oh,
I'm like, what
really?
is happening? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
I
Yeah,
didn't. Yeah, I
so
didn't in the house.
yeah, but thinking that and that's interesting to me that her family, being that she grew up around all girls, they didn't, I don't know, prepare her a little bit more or talk to her about it. They just was like, oh, you're in love. She's married now. They'll figure it out. But they do that in Christian households too. They base it on, oh, she's married now. That's it.
Figure it
She's a
out.
married
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah. I mean, because you
I
have
just
to make it your own. You
true.
can't take someone else's marriage and be like, oh, I wanted to be just like that, because you don't know what they went through to get to what you see. You know what
You
I
know what?
mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
But
that's go ahead, KB. What were you gonna say?
well, I was gonna say, I feel like that's also part of the whole purity movement too, right? Like the goal is just get married a
Get
virgin,
married.
and they don't care about the marriage, right? Like that
Right.
was the goal, and because Melissa talks about this a lot too. It's like the only goal was be a virgin on your wedding day, and nobody told you what happens once you got married. The goal was just getting married, so they're done.
You're right.
You're right. Because after you get married, you don't know what you like,
Now
what
what?
you don't like. You don't know,
Yep.
who this person is to you. The purity movement, I really, and that's why I feel like that's why Melissa started the Love Hour. That's why she really dove deep
Mm-hmm.
into that. She was like, I don't know who I am. I don't know
Right.
what I like because
Right.
this is the only person I've been with all my life.
Yeah.
And same with Erica. Am I right? Hey, B Love.
I think so.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think so. So for him to switch from being, with rappers and doing all these other things and now switch to who he is now,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't I was like, huh, it kind of did it seem like an easy transition to y'all or a hard transition to y'all?
Well, I mean, I think him just being a music producer,
True,
you work with whoever.
true.
Whoever gonna give you that check.
Won't pay you the money.
So I don't think he had like a hard time working with rappers, because he has a Christian background. I think he's a very grounded man. I think he stayed
Mhm.
grounded to his Christian roots. So I don't think that made a difference for him,
Right.
you know, but versus what Erica's family and friends thought, oh, he works with rappers and you know, and how rappers are, you know, depicted in videos, you know, cussing, drinking, smoking, different women in
Right.
their
And
mind,
he was going to
this
be.
is what they
Yeah.
thought, you know, so
Mhm.
that's why they was having those illegal prayer sessions.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That was my next thing.
Yes.
That's where we're leading into these illegal prayers, like these prayer sessions. Like, what is
Oh my God.
happening? Like, yo,
Hilarious.
if you walk, and I believe in God. Where if you walked in and they're like having a whole prayer session in your living room, what would you be thinking? Like, what the hell?
Yeah,
What
like
would you?
there exorcism going on? What's up? What happened?
Yeah.
Is this Bible study? No one told me.
Wow, I was like, okay, now, come on.
Yeah.
But I
That,
do.
They were young, so you know
Like,
the church people thought they were doing the right thing, keeping them covered in prayer. Listen, I don't know.
yeah, KB, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
no, I was going to say, and this might be like another topic, but it's like that, and then having people at my house, like without my knowing, that would irk my nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even as they were having that conversation, I was just like, no, no, like don't come in my house
Like, who are
without
these
me knowing.
people? Like,
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is a great point, KB. Like, who are these people and why are they in my
Yeah.
house? Like, what is
Especially if you don't know,
yes,
and it's you know you don't know what type of day I've had. I don't want to see nobody.
right? And I do think it was very interesting that they just went in this because of love, and then they think they're marrying their best friend, and they don't real. And they said they had a big house too. She had First Shackles money, so she had
Oh
a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, she had First Shackles money, so she had a great big house, just he and both of them. And she thinks that, oh, well, this is what it's about, me laying on the bed and doing all of these things. So they were just not prepared. I just love them because they were just not prepared for what for what was in store.
Right.
Yeah, that was really interesting to me. What did you when she was talking about um the female ego and how she kind of dealt with, not feeling secure sometimes, not feeling like he loved her, not feeling like, yeah, what did you think about that? KB?
I feel like that's a real thing, right?
Mhm.
And like, I mean, taking it out of this, I'm gonna divert from this video for a second. I think it was like yesterday or something. 50 Cent posted this video like women need maintenance and not necessarily like financial maintenance, like they need emotional maintenance. And it's like if you give a woman emotional maintenance, she could be in a room with a millionaire and not care because she's so secure in the relationship. And I feel like that's so true. And I don't know that people or even men understand that. But it's like, yes, like I need to know that you love me. And we hear Melissa saying this, like, I want to be the girl that you like and the girl that you're choosing a lot. And it can be hard to express that you want that, but it is something that that we need as women. Like we need to know that you are choosing us and that I'm not
Yeah.
like the default girl.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I agree with that. That's interesting that you say it like that too, that we want to know that, men want to be chosen too, but we want to know that, we want to feel secure in that. We want to be
Yeah.
confident that he's choosing me.
We want to
What do
hear
you
it.
think? We want to hear it.
We
That's
want
Yes.
we want to hear it. We want them to love us and show us appreciation all the time. This the way that we express love.
Yes.
Whereas a man may not always say, "Hey, I love you," but he'll show it in his actions. Well, okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, but can I just want to hear it from your lips.
Mm-hmm.
You
Y'all,
know?
do you think that because of maybe past hurt or past, heartbreak or whatever, we have an issue with reciprocation. We have, if he's showing it by, I don't know, fixing the house up, or if he's showing it his way, do we have an issue with, even reciprocity in our own way, and even just mouthing the words because we're thinking he doesn't feel the same way, or we don't understand that he's that's how he shows love. Do we have a problem with
I think it's a love language issue, right? Because, like, you have your way of receiving it. And if they're expressing it in a way that you're not receiving it, then you're still going to have that clash, right? So
yeah,
I haven't taken the test. I need to take the test, but I will tell you, my love language is not gifts, right? Like that, to me, I'm just like, I can buy my own stuff. I don't need you to buy something for me. So if someone's buying me something every day, they're probably in their mind like, I bought you something. Or like, for instance, flowers. Everybody in their mind loves flowers. I kill flowers. So I tell people, do not buy me flowers. Someone's like, I bought you flowers. And I'm like, why does this person keep buying me flowers? Like, my love language is quality time. So
right.
If you are, not spending time with me because you got to work or you're busy or whatever, I'm like, you don't even love me enough to put me on your calendar. But in their mind, they're like, I send her flowers every day.
Right.
So yes. And so I think it's a love language thing.
I'm allergic to flowers.
Right. And Tujuana, we're going to do the love language and our enneagram next time. We're going to make this one quick, but she's absolutely right. And I have a good friend, Tina, who does not like flowers. She's like, if you don't send me flowers, it's not so. And she had an ex that would just send her flowers and think it's the sweetest thing. And she's like, but he should know me by now. We've been together 2 years. Don't send me flowers. It's not, I don't care. That's not what it's attracting me to him. So I just think that's really interesting that you don't take the time.
Sorry, y'all hear my dog? I'm sorry.
I just So what did you think about the female ego, Tujuana? Did you want to add something to what KB said? Because that was really spot on. I like that.
I mean, I agree with KB. It depends on what your love language is. Excuse me.
Okay. So I do think it's so interesting she said that, though. I'm gonna read it real quick. I do think it's so interesting that you said that like that, because we don't think of it like that until you're in it, and you're like, and the guys start to get offended. Like then their egos start to come on, and they're like, then the guys' egos start to get offended. Like, what do you mean I don't love you? Or what do you mean, I don't understand, or I'm not communicating. I'm sending you flowers every day.
Yeah. Yes, so I definitely think it's a cross in love, because in their mind, they probably really are showing you affection, but in your mind, you're like, this isn't my love language, and I know it in my love language.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's how they show love, right? Because I'm providing.
Yeah.
So
and probably in their mind, they're like, and she doesn't even give me a gift back. I'm getting her flower, and it's like,
right. She didn't give me anything. Like that's what I want, and so maybe that's his love language is is gifts or acts of service.
Men like gifts too.
Men like gifts too.
They do.
Men like gifts too.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely.
They like Bath and Body Works.
Y'all, okay, we might. Okay, I did a show on men, what they like and stuff, and I have a good friend, Black Made Media, who does not like a woman to smell like Bath and Body Works. He said, no, you don't come smelling like fruity. Don't do that. Don't. Yes, he's like, you shouldn't. You're too old to be smelling like mangoes and stuff like that. And I said, but they got other scents. He's like,
oh,
I have to do that. Right. Mangoes. So, but I think that might be a good. Like what kind of perfume? What do you like? If you want your man, if you're. So I might do that again. Okay. One of the things that they talked about, and they always talk about marriage goals. People talk to them about, they see us and they're like, oh, that's goals right there. That's goals right there. When people say goals and look on the outside and say, I want that, And I'm gonna start y'all off because I have a good friend who used to do that when I was living in California in Oceanside, and she would see a couple of our other friends got married and got kids, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Crystal, that's what I want. That's what I want." And I'd be like, "You don't know that man might be beating her when he's getting on the inside. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. You
Exactly.
cannot take this picture that you think this
Mm-hmm.
relationship is and idolize it. That's the word,
Ideologue.
right?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Help me.
Mhm.
But you can't do that. And then you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know. And the truth was there was some crazy stuff going on in that house. But
Yeah.
how does that help you in growing your own relationship? So what do you think when people are always saying like, oh, that's goals and looking on the outside of a relationship? Go ahead, Tujuana, because that's
I
happened. I've seen.
mean, it
Yes.
like you said, it's them looking on the outside. Like you don't know what it took for them to get to what you see and think it's perfect. They could have argued 10 minutes ago on the car ride over,
Right.
but okay, we out in public. We don't air out our dirty laundry in public. You know, let's keep it cute.
Right.
I
Let's
don't
keep it
I
cute.
don't think that people should look at other marriages or other families and be like, "Oh, this is what I want." Because like you said, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Because I too have a friend who, would look at other people and they have kids and like, "Oh, I want kids so bad, I wish I was her." Listen, you don't know what it took for her to get those kids.
Hmm.
You don't know if, she had problems conceiving or if she can't conceive and she adopted those kids. You just don't know. So, yeah, I would tell her, "Thou shalt not covet."
Thou shalt not covet. Absolutely. Go ahead, Gabby. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, so you just hit on something with the kid situation because I was talking to one of my friends, and so a male friend that I have. We went to school together, and he has a 2-year-old, and I remember talking to him kind of about how people try to say like goals, and he was like, "Listen, I know you don't have kids. I don't have kids, just so everyone on the internet knows." He was like, "It's hard," and he's like, "I haven't slept in days." And he was like, we don't put the not so pretty stuff out, but like he's like, my son doesn't sleep, and I haven't slept, and I still have to show up to work and
Mm-hmm.
work, and like he's going through it right now.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, but then also, to get really real, as Black women, like we might idolize people and marriages and having kids, and just not understanding that maybe having kids can be a death sentence to us, right? And
Yes.
and that's a very real possibility. And one of the biggest
Absolutely.
stories everyone talks about is Serena Williams, right? Where it's like we can go to the doctor, have a baby, and the doctor not believe us.
Right.
And there are so many more Serena Williams out there in the world that just don't have a national platform to
Right.
say, "Hey,
Right.
this happened to me."
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that is very true. That you never know what's going on behind the scenes, so it's not good to covet. And I just would not say that anybody really should be relationship goals or couple goals. And I think that another thing that we need to stop doing, which I think we talked a little bit about last time, was stop idolizing the length of marriages because you don't know why the person is staying either. Because a lot of times we're like, oh, they've been married for 20 years. And I'm like, while that's a good thing to celebrate, I don't think it's something that you should necessarily envy, right?
Right. Right.
Because,
It could be for financial reasons that they stayed,
Right.
yes.
you know? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You know what? That is so true. People are like, "Oh my gosh, you've been married for 30 years. That's great." But have you been communicating
And
with each
only
other
happy
for
for
30
5.
years? Yeah, you've only been happy for 5. That's
Mm-hmm.
really sad. it's really, and because then you get so complacent and you get so used to the current status of your relationship, that you're like, well, that's just how it is. And that's one of the reasons why Kevin and Melissa started like therapy and everything, because he said he didn't want to lose her. He was afraid that, this is not,
Mhm.
and he knew that I need to start, having conversations about this. That's absolutely true. And people say they've been married for 5 years, or it doesn't matter. Have you been communicating? Have you been an active partner in that relationship? Is the most
Right.
important. That's very
Yeah.
good
And
point.
I mean, and it's not to say every marriage has been that people that have been married for a long time are unhappy. It's just that don't it's not the default that they've been happy the whole time, right? And I
Right.
think in our mind we make up the story that they've been happy the whole time, and it's probably not necessarily true.
Mm-mm.
Like I said, they only been happy for 5 years of those 30.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's a very good point. And also, this is one of the things too that was so interesting: communication styles. So I love this about Melissa, because she said, if I want you to spend time with me, I'll say, oh, let's watch this movie together. And whereas Kev will say, let's spend time together. And so Melissa's like, that's what I wanted though. And I was like, that is so
Yeah.
interesting that she didn't look at that as him not understanding. Because I was like, but you're not necessarily saying the same thing, or I guess in a way that he would catch it, or he's like, oh, I'll watch the movie with you tomorrow, or something like that. So I thought that communication styles are different, but she really did want to spend time with him, but
Yeah.
he's not understanding that.
He wasn't getting that, oh, let's watch this movie as her saying, let's spend time together. He was looking to hear the actual words.
Yes.
Mhm.
Let's spend time together. So, because he probably thinks she's speaking in code.
Right. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Do you think
It's
that
not
men?
code. I want to watch a movie
Yeah.
together.
Do you think that men are the ones that are more transparent, and we sometimes speak in code? I've
I don't think so, but
I don't know if they're more transparent, but I think they just put it out there. You know what I mean? Like, they say what they want.
right. You like me, I like you. Let's
Whereas
go.
we do too, but it's like, okay, yeah, I want to spend time with you, but let's spend time together watching this movie, because
Right.
this is something that I want to do.
Mhm.
Whereas they could say, I want to spend time with you. Okay, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
okay.
After.
So I have a question based on that. So there's this discussion around. Okay, if two people are dating, the woman calls like, "Can I come over?" or something. Like, let's say, "Can I come over?" And then the guy says, "Yeah, come over if you want to." Was the guy being clear? Like, what did he mean by that?
If she wanted to, yeah, come on over. But do you want me to come over? Like, I feel like if I ask you, do you want me to come over? I'm expecting you to say, yeah, come on by. If I hear, oh, if you want to, yeah, I feel like, well, I mean, he would be okay if I didn't come over. I need a definite answer. I need a yes or no.
It sounds like he was not enthusiastic at all, and he could take me or leave me. So to me, that sounded like a no.
Right.
That would be
That's
my first
how I would
instinct.
take it.
Right. But that may not have been what he was saying at all. This is a great thing.
Yes, but that's why I think it's like it's hard to answer because I would say it's hard to answer without a man on the panel because
No, is
it's
this my
like you can
toxic
see how that could be miscommunicated, right? Because he's probably like, "I said yes, but
right?
it's
Is
if
this
you
my,
want to, yes."
is this
You
my
said
toxic
if I
side?
want
I feel like,
to.
yeah, right.
But I mean,
Because I'm like,
obviously I want to, because I said, hey, I'm gonna come by. Is it okay? Well, yeah, if you want to. But I mean, I guess if he didn't want, if it wasn't okay with him, he'd have been like, nah, come by another day. But I don't have time for the guest games. Yes or no, sir?
yes or no?
I don't
And
want to
to
feel like
me,
I'm just pushing myself on you.
right. And to me, I would be like, well, damn it, I'm not coming then.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah. I saved my gas for
Yes.
another trip.
But you see, like
and
that
then what
is
if the next,
easy miscommunication between men, and which is why I can't say that men are more clear, because if you ask the guy, I'm sure they'd be like, "Well, it was very clear. He said yes." And it's like, no, he said if you want to.
If you want to.
and then the next day, if he said to me, I thought you were coming over. Well, you didn't seem like you were
Exactly.
enthusiastic. So
Ninja, I asked you.
you don't say if you want to me. Just say yes, come over,
Just yes
please.
or
Like,
no,
don't say
please.
yes or no. That is so funny because I would be like, nah, I'm not gonna. Yes. That tells me okay, he's interested in seeing me. If he's like, oh, if you want to,
Yeah,
that
if
means
you
he's
want to.
not.
Yeah.
Well, never
Take me or
mind
leave
then.
me. Well, never mind. Well,
Yeah,
I ain't coming. How about that? But
that's how I would take it.
does that start an argument though? Does that
Oh yeah.
or some type of miscommunication?
It can,
That's what I'm
yes.
saying. Toxic
Absolutely it starts an argument.
that-
Yeah.
It does, yeah. You don't, I can see the argument, because it just like Tawana said, then you don't come over and they're like, I thought you were coming over. Like, you
right.
didn't want me to. I
You didn't
clearly
say
said
yes.
yes. Yes, that's the beginning of the argument right
And
there.
he's like, yes, I did.
Mhm.
No, you said if I want to. But I mean, if I didn't want to see you, I'd have said no. Sir, you're
See,
not
that
clear.
sounds like so whatever, man. That just sounds like whatever. And
Whatever,
I
I'm
No,
don't.
here.
the answer is both men and
To
women are
me,
very unclear. Men
Yes.
and women are both unclear. It's not to say like one person's communicating, like one sex is communicating clearly, and then the other sex isn't. And I will even say, as proof, then why are gay couples having problems? Because we just don't communicate, period. That's
right.
as
As a
humans.
people, we
As
do not
humans.
communicate.
Yes.
As a people, yes.
Yes.
As the people, as humans, we just don't communicate exactly.
Yes, I agree with that, KB.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, Keith. That is so funny because I absolutely, I'm not coming there. Because to me, if I called you and said, "Do you want me to come over?" That's me. That's me inviting myself. I'm like, "Hey,
I'm
I
inviting
want to
myself.
come." That's it. I'm inviting myself. But if you just say, "Well, whatever, sure, if you want to," that just says, "Nah." That means it.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
then, as women, then
I
this
need
is
you to be
because what
excited.
right. And as women, do we start to then think, why wasn't he excited about me coming over? Who's he got coming over there?
That goes into the female ego thing, yes.
It goes to the second part female ego.
Mhm.
That is so true. And we can be confident, but maybe he could have been just playing video games with his boys. He could have been, what, but sometimes you, that's when your head starts. You get in your head and you
Yeah.
start to overthink and
Well, what did he mean by that?
right.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's good. That's a good one. Because I agree that a lot of times I'm one of those people that I may just be like, well, do you want me to come over, or let's hang out or something like that. I don't say I want to spend time with you. And I wonder if a lot of I really had to after Melissa said that, I was like, I think I do that too. And then so maybe
We
that's
all
the
do.
miscommunications. Okay, we
We all
all do
do.
it.
Yeah, we
Sidebar. Crystal, did you get your hair done over?
No.
It looks great.
This is still I'm very actually
oh,
impressed. I'm gonna give y'all give you the because I said, oh, I'm coming back to this lady. She right around the corner
Good.
from me.
I'm sorry. I was just sitting here admiring
No,
it.
no,
Like,
I totally agree. That's what
yeah,
that's why
yeah.
we love having KB on here. Y'all, KB is a lawyer. She about her business. I love it. Because we all have to just be more direct.
Mhm.
And the thing is, as women, do we run into the should I be more direct at this point or that point? Which listen, just be more direct at all times. Just be honest, because it's just gonna even if it might hurt your feelings right then and there, it'll all work out in the end. So just be honest. Yeah, that was very that's a good point because I'm like, I think I do that too. Okay, so what would be a piece of advice you would give your younger married self? And Erica, I feel like Erica had the one that she really was concerned. Oh, does he really love me? Or and that's with her. Remember, he really does love you because I feel like she went through that, not sure a lot in the beginning. What did you think of
Yeah,
that?
because I remember her saying that she had went to his friend, said something to one of his friends like, "Yo, I don't think he liked me or loved me," and they're like, "Are you crazy? He loves you, yes, talks about you all the time or whatever." But you know, she didn't she didn't see it that way very early on in their marriage, right? Because he thought, hey, this is my buddy,
Yeah.
Right, this is my best friend and stuff like that. And I think
she
again,
had
I
her
guess.
own in her mind what the marriage was going to be like, and I guess he did as well,
Hmm. And I
so
think that that's exactly what we were something we were talking about the goals, but also when you go into a relationship. And so, Tawana, like when you go into a relationship, did you have a certain idea of what it was supposed to look like, and then were you truly disappointed after you? What did you?
well, yeah, I mean, because you romanticize what it's going to be like,
Mhm.
right? And I don't think that that's the guy's fault. It's us. It's all up in here. Like, this is how it's gonna be, and we're gonna do this. Whatever. We're just gonna be in love all the time and cuddly and lovey dovey, and folk got to go to work.
Right.
Folk got to go to
I
work. I
call it the
can't sit
heart.
up here and cuddle with you all day.
Right. I call it like the hearts and flowers of love. Like you idealize this idea, oh, it's supposed to be all hearts and flowers, it's supposed to be all nice and
Mhm.
sweet. No, people gotta go to work, people got like bills, and people, when life starts to
It's
take
called life.
effect,
Nice.
Yeah.
and I
Hmm.
think that like in certain like maybe self-esteem, or she started to just not be so confident and stuff like that. And he was like, no, Warren loves you. No, he does love you, but he just expresses it differently. I think
Yeah.
that he did a lot of that in the beginning. He was like, I need to go back and change the way. I feel like he did. He went back and he changed the way he related to her. I'm sure there's a better word, but like they started to interact differently. Well,
Yeah.
she's no longer his best friend. They didn't act as best friends anymore.
Well, I think, like, well, they couldn't act as best friends all the time, right? Because they were also business partners.
Good point.
They
Mm.
worked together.
That's true.
So it's like, okay, I'm the producer, you're the talent. That's one thing. And then, we got the best friends where we can tell each other everything. Excuse me, where we can tell each other everything. And then husband and wife, and with husband and wife comes, you have kids to raise together, right? Because there may be some things that, as the music producer and the talent, you can't tell her.
Yeah.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So
Hmm.
you kind of got to separate those
That
relationships.
Yeah.
absolutely. That always reminds me of the Braxtons, Tamar Braxton, when she was married to Vince. They're divorced now and everything. And he kept always having, "You're not ready yet. You're not ready yet." Because he was also managing Tony. And "You're not ready yet." And she kept getting passed over. And then finally he said, "Okay, now she's ready." And I was like, huh. How does she manage that? How does she and then like when they turned that when he turned around and was really like putting a lot of effort into her, like she was like, "Oh my God, this is what I've been wanting for years." But that, constantly having to tell, that's not just your wife. That's not just your business partner, somebody you're managing, you're working with, but that's also your wife. And you're having to manage
I don't
them.
think she understood that. I don't think in the beginning Tamar understood that. I
Right.
think she felt like I'm your wife.
Yeah.
I should just automatically get a pass. But he's
Right.
looking at it, as the talent, you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
As the artist, you're not ready yet.
Hmm.
She couldn't. I don't think she could differentiate the two.
Right.
No,
You're
that's right. And I think
yeah.
when you are like a professional in like whatever it is, and somebody tries to get involved in some way, like you're just like, listen, I know my profession, and I know, and like this is not up to par,
Oh, right.
and we watched that with Kevin and Melissa with their show. It's like Kev can't cast all of his friends to be on the show because they're friends. You just can't do that.
No.
And I get that that's your wife, but at some point you have to be like, listen, this is what I do. I understand this, and we can't move forward doing X.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know for me, so before we even started talking about, I have a case going on, and I joke that it's monopoly money because it really is just monopoly money. And so when people talk to me about, and bless it, because I get it, I just don't talk about my job, but people will be like, well, you could do this, and someone made this comment like, if you do this, like you can get this investment of $2,000, and I'm like, do you need $2,000? Because that's what I'm hearing, like, because 9 to 5 I play in monopoly money. I don't like, so we're not having the same conversation,
Right.
but it's like, and also this advice that you're giving me, it doesn't suit me. Just because I don't, but like I can see that, and I can see that happening and being a thing. But it's like in relationships when you're like, I know I work with you, but I also work with these other people, and this is, hi Ashley, this is like, how else we also like, you're not doing this. You need to do vocal coaches. You need to do your breathing exercises. You need to, like, if you're acting, you need an acting coach. You need to do like all of these things. And it's like, if you're not willing to do that, then partner or not,
Right.
this is my business hat. Because you're not about to mess up my business.
Right.
On the strength of relationships. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
You're right. That's so interesting. And somebody's coming to you saying, "Oh, well, you can save $2,000," but you're like, "But that's not where my head is at right now. That's not.
Yes.
I don't
Now,
need that."
I had an ex that swore up and down. He was like, "Oh, you can be my lawyer." And I was like, "There is no, like." He thought that he was going to retire me from my job, and I was like, "There's no scenario in the face of Earth where I'm going to leave my job and come work for you solely. Like, that's just not going to happen."
That's cute.
Yes.
That's cute.
It was. It was.
So to your point, like I worked my butt off to be a lawyer, and now you want me to leave my job. This is what I've done.
Oh,
Leave
hold
my
on,
job
ladies.
to go to you.
This is my daughter calling. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, no, he really thought that he was going to retire me from my job and take me. And I was like, I don't even want to do that, number one. But like, you're not even. And I would tell him, like, he wasn't even close.
What do you mean he wasn't even close? Was the assumption
well,
you wanted?
Yeah, it was the assumption that it was what I wanted, but it's also
so okay, Mac. So we're talking about. So you were saying, because this is really good, and I'm supposed to be letting you go soon, KB. So
yeah, we're here now. We're here now.
Okay, we're talking about your ex. He wanted you to be his lawyer, but then he said he wanted you to leave your job. He wanted to retire you from your job and come and work for him.
Yes. So, Trey Mack, what we're talking about is what we were supposed to be talking
Marriage
about
to
is
Heart.
Marriage to Heart, the Campbells. We deviated just a little bit, but we're
We
still kind
always
of on
do.
track.
Go ahead.
Talking about being in a relationship and somebody wanting you, like working in a romantic relationship, but also working together.
Professionally, like working. So we were talking about, so the Campbells, Warren is Erica's manager. Well, she producer,
Yeah.
everything, right? So and then I kind of veered off to not Tony, Tamar and Vince when they were married. And it was so interesting because Tujuana said something. She said, I don't think that Tamar realized, like, she just would, I'm your wife, I'm supposed to slide right in. But him being the manager said, you're not ready yet. And for him to have those hard conversations with her. So that's where we started. But now you had equated it to your ex.
Yeah,
Go
with
ahead.
my ex. Yeah. So with my ex, what he wanted to do was entertainment. And so I do intellectual property law, which a branch of that is entertainment law. And what I would tell him is, like, when he wasn't ready, because he felt like he could do everything, he didn't prepare his topic, so he thought that he was really good on the fly. And I have to say, you're not really good on the fly. You actually have to research topics. He also was not good with PR, because there are some difficult conversations that you have, especially when it comes to LGBTQ plus. And I was like, you kind of need to know what the actual terms are. First, you need to know what the acronym stands for. Then you have to know what the actual terms are. If he wouldn't, because he wouldn't do research, he was like, well, this is kind of like what we're doing, like you're getting to know, but you actually have to prep first, right?
Yeah.
And like, I was like, I noticed that you don't prep at all. And he also was not paying his photographer, who was a photographer that actually went to school for this, or videographer. So he went to school for this. And he also had like a working job. He was very good. So when I have fallouts with friends, or even if romantic relationships, I wind up having hangout, like people that still follow me, whether I'm with that person or not. But I will tell you that photographer, who I hired later to do something for my company, was really good. And like I said, he actually went to school for this, and he wasn't paying him. And so I was like, these people are professional, and if you don't understand how to work with someone that went to school for this, like, he's doing you a favor, and you need to start acting like he's doing you a favor. You need to prep. And he was like, oh, I'm like, you're not gonna make it because you don't do X, Y, and Z. And also, me telling you this every week is annoying me. So yes, we're not together, clearly, but it was just one of those things where it's like, and then on the flip side of things, when I go into work, I work with people that are on CNN regularly. And I'm just like, I'm telling you, this is what you're trying to do, and you're doing a very bad job of it.
So my question to you, because this is great. When you are you that nurturer? Because I used to be that person that, oh, well, I want to come in and I want to help you. Do you fly in? Are you, because I appreciate the fact that you're like, you need to prep, you need to act like he's, doing you a favor. This is a professional person, and this is the way you have to conduct that business. But then, and I appreciate the fact that you said, me jumping in to help you every week is annoying me, and it's taking me away from my business. You understand what I'm saying? Because I used to be that person. Oh, let me come in and help you. That was, I guess that is my love language. Let me prove, or something like that. Because I saw that, where he was lacking. So I would be, I don't want, like, the saver. I would, to a point, and like, I'm not doing this. Like, so, and we're not together anymore. But yeah, I'm that nurturer, and I want to come in and just help, and be that person. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm probably a reformed nurturer, but what I'll say is, I don't gatekeep, right? Because I feel like that's the other side of the coin is some people gatekeep. I don't gatekeep, but I do help. But also, I need to see that you're actually putting in effort. So when you don't put in the effort, then I'm like, that's your dream. And that was actually one of the conversations that we actually had. Because I said to him, if this is your dream, you kind of need to study it, and you're not studying it. And that was probably the last, well, no, it wasn't the last conversation we had. The only reason it wasn't the last conversation we had is because he tried to get back with me, and I was like, no, I said we're done. Yeah, yes. But yes. But in one of the last conversations that we had, I was like, if that's your dream, you actually need to study it. And I get a lot of people that ask me a lot of, like, so my background is I started off as a scientist, and then I went to law school. So I do intellectual property. So I know a lot of, like, getting into science and teaching science and then getting into the law. And a lot of people will ask me, like, well, how did you study for the LSAT, which is the exam you have to take before you go to law school? And I will tell you, like, I did this and I did this, and, I'll tell you those things. The next time we have a conversation, I expect that you actually made some progress on that, because if you didn't, then then it was a waste of my breath, right? And that's where I go with everybody. It's like, we can have a conversation. I can see sometimes people are just genuinely struggling and not understanding what next steps they need to do. And I'll have that conversation with you. Don't ask me to repeat myself the next time. Right. So, and that
I have
happens.
a best friend that's exactly like that. Like, I will help you, but she wants to see that you're doing the work as well. And I appreciate it too. That's how she was with her kids and like, now that the kids are grown, now I will help you, but I'm not going to force you to drink. I'm not going to force you to drink that. I'll lead you to the water, but I'm not going to force you to drink that water. And if you do not, then I have to stay out of it. And I was that nurturer that, okay, let me help you, let me work with you, let me do this for you, let me, and I'm not that person anymore. That's because I noticed, just as you just said, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. They're now expecting you to do the work for them. And it just takes it takes your energy, that depletes your energy. And then you start wondering, well, what was it all for? Like, how are we moving forward? How are we moving? So I have to ask you a question. I want to ask Tujuana this question when she comes back. Do you lead with your hard side or your soft side?
Gosh, I almost want to say it, but your answer, it depends. I feel like I lead with my hard side, but I've learned to lead with my soft side, right? So I learned to take a breath before I start talking, right? And one of the things that I started doing is saying, like, okay, going back to the movie thing, right? Instead of saying, like, I wanted to watch a movie or whatever, I've learned to say, I want to watch this movie because I want to spend time with you. And just completing the sentence. So I learned to, like, start saying that as opposed to, well, you'll figure it out. So I feel like I'm more so completing the sentence than just saying something outright, right?
That's a good way to complete it. That's a great point, because my next question, when you said you learned how to do that, was, do you think that's a learned behavior? How would you learn how to do that? But the fact that, so what we were talking about earlier is how men and women can communicate differently, right? So we as women, because I admitted, I said, I think I do that. Like, say, instead of saying, I want to spend time with you, that's how men say it. They're supposed to. But we realize they don't always talk like that. But they don't always are so outright out front and say, I want to spend time with you. They'll say, well, but we as women will say, well, let's watch a movie together, or something like that. In our heads, we're saying we want to spend time with you. And that's what I'm saying. But a man might say, well, I want to spend time with you. And so I love your analogy that you gave earlier, KB, but to your point, if I say, let's watch a movie together because I want to spend time with you, or let's spend some time together watching a movie or something like that, that's completing the sentence. That's letting him know, because men, they can't, they're not mind readers, I guess.
Yeah.
So that does help the situation. Because to me, I'm like, well, it's not a learned behavior. Either you are or you aren't, but that's not true necessarily. Because I know I used to lead with my hard side, and now I'm definitely much more recently lead with my soft side. But I don't think it may not even be intentional. Trey Mack said, I'm a nurturer, but one thing I had to learn quickly was to have more discernment with whom I'm sharing my nurturing spirit with.
Yes.
There are many people who only know how to take, not receive. Great, Trey Mack, absolutely.
Yes.
That
Great
is
point.
so true. That there are people that just that want to take from you, and you don't recognize it until it's already happened. That's the sad thing, that they just take, but because you're such a nurturer and you want to help and you want to be there for that person, you just do it. And then you're like, wait a minute. And so you
Right.
have to practice that discernment. And that's what you were saying earlier about, I think before I speak nowadays, and they're like, let me say it this way. Not everyone deserves your nurturing. Absolutely. That's a great point, Trey Mack. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank y'all for
Yes.
coming. I really appreciate you. Ashley,
Yes.
B
My
Love,
pleasure.
and Trey Mack for hanging out with me. Because you're right, not everyone deserves your nurturing spirit, and leading with your hard side every time. You don't even know what, and someone is being, you don't even know when you're being hard, because that's just like, that's how you lead.
Mhm.
So I definitely think I used to lead with my harder side, and now I lead with my softer side. Even on the panel, sometimes when I used to have the men's panel, I used to kind of not be middle of the road, but and I need to be just a little bit more stronger, and because when I would have the men on, I would say, that's just not my experience, but okay, I'll let you. And I said, no, I need to just say, that's not true, and you have to just be much more stronger. And with the women too. So that's very true. um you have to
Yeah.
practice discernment in everything you do. Go ahead.
Yes. I will say this, and this is going to be like a little another Carisha funny story, but I so I learned this through therapy, to tell you the truth, because I did not do this before. I was very like, you know, I would say whatever. So even the conversation where I was like, there's no scenario where I'm going to want to work with you. And like it wasn't the softest conversation, but it was very true. And I can
Did
tend
you
to
say
say
it like
things
that
very,
though? Did you, sorry to interrupt you, did you say it?
I can't
It's okay.
remember how I said it. I can't, I just remember like I was frustrated and I was done at that point. But I was a little bit softer with this because I feel like I'm an empath too. So I also recognize when I'm hurting some people. And in a lot
Right.
of conversations, even in a lot of arguments, I don't think a lot of people recognize, like, sometimes I don't argue with people not because I just don't want to, right? It's because I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, you just need to win an argument. So like, win it with me. I don't care, because I don't care enough to argue half the time. So even like yesterday, there was something that another person said to me that I was like, you can have the last word. It's okay. Because I
Yeah.
I don't care enough about this topic to argue about it, right?
Right.
But one thing that I do do, which I had to stop, which is why I had to learn how to communicate differently, is I am a litigator. And I also learned, one of one of the classes that I took was about wrongful convictions. And so we learned about the proper way to interrogate people. And I've talked to a couple of my friends that are also lawyers, and we can almost like cross-examine you, or like, and that's how sometimes we argue. And I recognize I did this once in my relationship where I set it up perfectly in a way that, as a lawyer, I was ready to impeach the witness, which is like where you like set up the evidence. It's like, oh, okay, well, you testified this, but exhibit A. Like, I had set up the whole exhibit thing, and he was just like, what? And I was like, like I just instantly went into lawyer, like,
You
and
went
I was
into
like, oh,
lawyer mode.
I did, yes. And so I have to not do that. I have to actively not do that when I'm upset, which is why I have to pause and recognize where I am. Yeah,
Wow.
and I've had my friends do it to me, because it's so clear how we actually talk. Like, so even one of the partners that I talk that I work with a lot, in his regular speech, he'll say, strike that, move to strike. Like he'll just naturally say it because we're like that just most of the day.
Right. And then you come home and oh gosh, we've talked about this. I think we've talked about this on our other Kojo channel, with just like taking that armor off.
Mm-hmm.
That is so interesting. You're right. You have to, and that's, and like you said, move to strike and things like that. The things that you'll spin it in your head that this is just a regular conversation. Well, when you're mad, but you have to work to not do that. That you have to, and that's your armor. That's that person you are most of the day. That is, you're absolutely right. And sometimes it's hard to do when you're constantly leading with your hard side, or you're constantly leading with that you're in work mode. That's it. And then you're angry. Oh, this is how I fight. This is how you're trying to break down the witness.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. Yeah. So what would you you're not married, but I did like, and I'm going to end it, but I really wanted to come back, but because I really want to ask you that last question about leading with your hard side or your soft side. But Warren said a piece of advice he would give his younger married self, was lessons on preparations for the future, money management, and that is something. Do you think it's a bad so let me go through this. We've seen a lot of rappers, they are just people that have made money when they're young at 20, 21. We see guys go from, instead of going into college, go into the NBA, or go straight into, and I'm like, some people, I was like, that's not a good idea. You need to have that college experience. You need to have those experiences. You need to get your heart broken. You need to go through meet those friends. And when you make that money early, and there were a couple that had money very early and really had to make up that preparation for the future. Do you think it's kind of a bad thing to, or what do you think about that? People that, get money, get the bag early.
So I think it is very important to understand money and money management. And I'm actually giving a talk about like working at large law firms, because I think a lot of times people just they don't see like 10 years down the line, right? But do you watch football?
Some, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So horrible. So
okay. So one of the things I was talking to one of our partners about was, a lot of times people, they come into money, like you said, they come into money early, like football players, right? Come into money early. You go to the draft, you get a lot of money, like you're like, obviously it's great, like life is great and it's fine and it's fabulous. But what they don't tell you is that the average career for a football player is 3.3 years.
yes.
Right? So you're only going to get that money for 3.3. If you stay in the league for 10 years, that's great, but that's the length of time that you get that money, right? So while you're in the league, you need to prep for being out of the league. And I think it's hard for a lot of people, and I think it's especially hard for Black people, because it goes against what you're taught, what you see, and what the people around you tell you to do. Mm-hmm. Right? So one of the examples that I use is like Troy Aikman. So Troy Aikman was in the league. He was a first round draft pick. He obviously made a lot of money, won Super Bowls, great, like it's Troy Aikman, right? But while he was in the league, he was preparing to be out of the league, right? Yep. So he was doing his communication classes or whatever it is, so that the year he retired, he was already a commentator. And now you see he's the lead commentator on Monday Night Football. So like he was able to keep his career. Now I'm sure like as he was playing, they were like, well, you're the quarterback, stay a quarterback.
Mhm.
Right. So it goes again, but you have to be your own advocate and do what you need to do. Right. And when it comes to relationships, and I think I started this a little bit before, not this conversation, but when you and I were talking before, I know a lot of times people talk about marriage, and one of the big things that we're told is that marriage is not good for men because men lose so much money in marriage, right? But as um, but but that is very true. I'm not even going to disagree with you, Trey. But yeah, so a lot of times we're told like men lose a lot of money in relationships, and you know, just understanding the laws behind marriage. It's marriage is like all of the laws that support marriage are supporting generational wealth, right? And so there's wills, trust, and estate. So a lot of times people talk about the prenup. You to do the prenup, you also have to do the will at the same time, right? And like all these things work hand in hand. And if you understand the tax law, like marriage, you can make so much money in marriage. But a lot of times we're told like, oh no, well the man loses money because when she leaves, she gets half. And it's like, not necessarily. Like it all depends. And it's like there are so many ways of getting around it. But if you work the system, the way that the system is actually intended to be, you can make so much money in marriage, right? And
Mhm.
you can move money within a marriage in a way that you can't if you're just out here by yourself with a girlfriend.
Right.
And people don't talk about that. And it's not something that's encouraged, but it's one of those things where it's like you really have to kind of teach yourself this. And we just don't have access to that knowledge a lot of times.
We don't, and honestly, what you just said was it's not something that they tell you, that they prepare you for. It's not something that we saw from our parentage. But
No.
why do you think it's definitely not something that we saw from our parentage, but why do you think that this narrative of men is not good for it's not good for marriage because they lose so much money in marriage, but it's that it's that adage, it's cheaper to keep her, but there's more to it. There's just more to it.
There is more to it. So in some cases it is cheaper to keep her, but that goes to, and this is, I'll try some clues. So if you are married to someone for a while, right? And then if you're within the marriage and then that person passes away, there's this rule where your spouse gets at least 1/3 of your estate, right? It's kind of like a default. So you can't exclude your spouse completely from your estate, right? As long as you're married. What happens is you can get to a point in life where your estate is such, and that's like the money left over after you pass away, where it would actually be cheaper for that spouse to just get the 1/3 as opposed to going through the divorce and splitting the money in the divorce. And that is the one time that I've heard it's cheaper to keep her. That actually makes perfect sense, right? Because it really is at that point. It's like it's the 1/3 versus whatever the share would be in a divorce. So that actually is steeped in some sort of form of reality.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
I think the reason why in our community we don't know this is because we just, like, as Black people, just started having property. And the real foundation for marriage and the marriage certificate was keeping property within a family line. And we only just started getting property because before that,
learning this and spreading
Yes.
this knowledge to other Black people. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. So that is why. It's because we just started buying houses, because we were excluded from getting houses before. But
Right.
that is how people are getting houses and understanding the tax code. So instead of a parent getting a house for their children, you'll get the grandparent to gift to the grandchild. So then there's there's a grandparent tax exemption. So
Yes.
like it's but I couldn't go to my grandparents and ask them for money. You know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna happen. But we just started getting houses. And so now I think people have this fear of, well, I just got this money. And so you're going to take
Hold
half
on
and
to
not
it.
seeing, yes, but not
And
seeing, like, it's not for you, it's for your grandkids. So
right.
if you like, it's like you're laying the foundation for you, but you're like, you're going to take my money. I just got this.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's our money story. That is a lot of families, a lot of Black families' money stories that no, keep it close to you. Don't, and that's why a lot of people, my grandparents age did not trust banks and did not know I need to keep this money close because I just got this. And if I do, I will lose it. And yeah, and did our parents talk to us about this stuff? And that's why Warren was like, I really needed to have that preparation for the future because we didn't have that, and nobody spread that knowledge to us. It,
No.
that is, you're right though, because we just started getting this property, and so now our mindset is just keep it close to you. Don't spread it to everyone else. You're right, and it's and I do think that's why, a lot of men, they may lead with their hard side. They're just starting to become vulnerable. They're just starting to open up. They're just starting to tell their money story or how they grew up and what their mindset was in a relationship. Because, yeah, because they didn't have it that easy, and they didn't think longevity. They didn't think longevity wise as far as money is concerned. Because, and honestly, not just men, I don't think a lot of the Black families, as you just stated, thought that way.
Yeah. No, but we weren't allowed.
We're
Right. So
not.
I don't blame anybody because we literally were not allowed. Nobody taught us this. Nobody taught us this. We weren't allowed. Nobody's sharing it with us. They're just living their lives like, and these families that we know, Donald Trump, he made good use of this whole grandparent tax exemption, marriage tax exemption. He buried Ivana on his properties for a tax exemption. You know what I mean? It's like that people are making good use of the tax code that we just don't even know of. And it's not our fault, right?
It's not our fault.
Yeah, no.
That's so. This was great.
Yeah, it's that. What's the other? The Kennedys.
Mm-hmm.
Like that money has been in families for generations and generations, and they are making good use of these tax. But we, and on the Black side, who do we have?
Who do we have to teach us that? Who do we have to talk about legacy? We're just now talking about legacy. We just started really, and yeah, some people would no, in the last couple years,
Yeah.
build a legacy. We don't talk about that, but we weren't taught to talk about that. They didn't want us to. They didn't want us to, and that's honestly, our parents just make the money now. Just make your money now. Just do what you can now, and that's it. That's so interesting.
Yeah. So Trey Mack said, I actually agree with you, but it's gotten to the point where there are too many bad examples of marriages failing and not enough proper knowledge being taught, and men are becoming more and more fearful.
Fearful of what, Trey Mack? Fearful of getting into a bad relationship? Fearful of losing their money to their wives and divorce? Because I mean, both are absolutely make sense. But but it's gotten to the point where there are too many bad examples of marriage failing. And you know what? And you're right. And that's not
Yeah.
you're not wrong on that. That's why we decided to do Marriage Be Hard, because these conversations with the Campbells and with the Tanksleys and with Tab and Chance, these are examples of um, good Black marriages. Well, and I want to say they're working at it. There's not perfect, and that's the thing. The fact
Yeah.
that they're not perfect, and they know that they're not perfect, but they still love each other through their imperfections, through everything, and that's why I'm like, there are a lot of bad examples. There's
Yeah.
a lot of bad examples.
Yeah. And that was one of the things, that I said. I was like, I didn't know an example of a good marriage. I can name several examples of bad marriages, but I just didn't know an example of a good one.
And you know what, you're right. And that's what we were talking about on our last episode, Trey Mack, is that KB, boy, KB has some examples of a bad marriage. And honestly, in some bad situations, bad relationships. But and even now, the trust factor is hard for us to trust and stuff. So I do see your point, that it's hard for when you have so many examples of bad marriages. Then you get into a relationship, you're like, and then that's why, KB, you said you're taking your time with this one. You're in a relationship, you're like, I'm gonna take my time. Take my time. I'm gonna go back because Tujuana, Tawana's back. Okay, we're gonna end it in like 5 minutes because but do you lead with your hard side or your soft side, Tujuana?
Uh, Soft. I lead with my soft side first, because that's just who I am. I'm a nurturer. Um, my hard side doesn't come out until I'm at my limit with your foolishness.
KB gave this great example of being with her ex. Now he's her ex, but that she did everything, like not everything, but she like basically led him to water. She said, "This is what you need to do." She introduced him to the right people, but he
This is how
still.
you
Oh, no,
do
no, no.
it.
I didn't introduce him. No, no.
Okay, you did. Oh, I thought you introduced him to
No,
the
no.
photographer and the whole. Okay,
No, that was his friend. I just met the photographer. Yeah.
but he still wasn't doing the things he should have been doing. And I was saying that I think that definitely used to be me, but it's so interesting. I said, "Are you a nurturer? Do you fly in and help your man every time?" And I definitely, well, let me help you. Let's do this. Let me do your stuff for you. Let me walk you through it. And then I'm like, that's depleted by energy. You didn't do anything to follow up. You didn't do anything to that. Like, but what was cool, what Katie said was, this was your dream.
Mm-hmm.
This is my dream. And you're still not, and I'm helping you with your dream. So
Right.
I love that. I love that. That makes complete sense. When we as women, we're the nurturers, and I definitely believe I am. But then if I'm doing everything, how is that helping us in build? So
It's
okay,
not.
what was that? And then the last one was Tawana. Warren said, what was the piece of advice you would give your younger married self? And he said, lessons on preparations for the future. Ooh, I want to ask you this, Tawana. Do you think it's a bad thing for people to make money young? Like when we were talking about the draft, and we were talking about, you know, what's his name? Troy Aikman, who started playing when he was playing, he was already prepping to be an announcer. He was already prepping
Mm-hmm.
because, as a football player, you only have 3.5 years, and they don't prep us, especially as Black people. I really do. I really appreciate what KB just said. Do they prep us? Do they tell us how to keep that money, how to build that legacy? And we see, rappers, they get their money early, they get the bag early, but then now they're spending it on jewelry. Are they spending it on that house? Of course, they all buy their mother a house. You're supposed to do that. It's not.
Yes.
But
So I mean, if you are financially literate, it doesn't matter when you start to make the money. You know what I mean? Because whether if you don't know what to do with the money, whether you're young or you're old, it's not going to matter, right? Because you can be young and make foolish mistakes, and you can make those same foolish mistakes when you're older. You
it's
know,
true.
and I don't think that um, at least my parents, their generation, prepared us how to deal with finances,
Yeah.
right? Because I think another time when the three of us were on, it was like you couldn't go to your parents and ask, oh, well, how much money do you make a year? Or, they never, from my experience, never sat down and said, okay, let's go over this bill. Let me show you how to balance a checkbook.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff came in school, but it was just like, okay, we're gonna spend this unit talking about this. It was nothing in depth. In depth. We never talked about saving your money, how to invest your money. So, I mean, I
You know,
don't,
and
I don't think it matters.
and you're right, and it's something. And KB was just talking about that because we just started talking about reading Black is Left. Just started talking
I
about
agree with
legacy and
you, love.
legacy
Sorry.
because. And no, I'm gonna pull it up, but because KB was talking about like the Kennedys and of course Donald Trump, and like he makes, he gets that tax exemption. He, they know how to like and use the grandparents clause and do all of those things. But are we were never taught that, and
Mm-mm.
we couldn't be taught that. They kept that from us. So now
Yeah.
we keep everything, hold it close to the vest. Now that I've got that money, I got to keep it, and I'm not going to tell my friends, and I'm not going to tell anyone how to make that money and how to keep it for the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't manage a little, you can't manage a lot. We need
Mm-hmm.
financial classes. And absolutely agree with
Very
that. And there are these programs, and maybe that's what that next time, and maybe I will put it on my tag because there are these programs now in school where they actually teach you banking. They actually teach you real life situations, and they take you into like different scenarios and how to build a business, about
Yeah,
entrepreneurship.
they had that in school when my kids were in school, but according to my daughter, they didn't go in depth. Like it was a required class that you had to take and pass in order for you to graduate.
Okay.
Oh, really?
But she was like, it really didn't. She didn't really get a lot out of it. Like she thought
Hmm.
she would have gotten more from it. Like how to invest the money, how to budget or whatever. Like it wasn't what she expected it to be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
That's
but I mean, I
interesting.
don't know. Maybe she was looking for more, and maybe other kids thought, "Oh, well, this is exactly what I needed." You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. And I think it's important to go in depth with it. And you honestly, and you have those refresher courses as well. That's very true. That's very true. Y'all, this was fun. Go ahead, KB. Were you gonna say
I'm
something?
gonna say, for me, when I feel like I grasped finances, I actually watched this show that has since been canceled, but it was really good. It was called Life or Debt, and it's actually on Amazon Prime still. But the host of the show, Victor Antonio, he would make these people sit down with their income and all the money that was coming out. And then he would make them do a spreadsheet and make it like a business, like your household is like a business. And right now your business is in the red. So either you need to cut down your expenses or increase like the money that's coming in. And he would
Hmm.
work with them, and I still do an Excel spreadsheet for my finances.
Hmm.
You got to do what works for you.
Right. And I do appreciate that Warren Campbell said that. He said that I was not prepared. And honestly, you're getting that rapper producer money, then you're getting all of these, you're making the money early, and all you see is money coming in. All you see is the stuff that your
Right.
parents didn't have. All you see is the big houses and the cars. And I think that the kids get hypnotized by that. Especially when I say kids, I mean at 21, you know, you're like, this is all I'm supposed to. This is it. This is what I've worked. This is what I'm working for.
I made it.
And
Yeah.
I made it.
And people think that money's gonna come in forever, and it doesn't.
It doesn't.
And listen, in the pandemic taught us that.
Absolutely.
If nothing else.
Yep.
Definitely taught us that.
Mhm.
Yep. So, Tujuana, who are we doing next week?
Marcus and Angel? Did
Yeah,
we
let's do the
them?
thing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they're fun. We'll do tanks.
I'm like in my mind, did we do the taste lead? I know I watched that one. Yeah. Okay.
We haven't done the Tanksies. So we'll do the Tanksies next week. And we're gonna set up a time to do the love language and the enneagrams. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. And let me know what else you guys want me to cover. I'm gonna get back in the swing of things. Married at First Sight comes back on in January. Give me strength. So I'm gonna pray on that one. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. So yeah, let me know what else you guys want me to talk about, what you guys want me to cover. I love the fact that we always veer off. I'm sorry, shake the table. That we always kind of veer off into other things. So you are more theological, not practical. And so I thought that, and when Tujuana was talking about this, I know I was trying to end, but I thought they're supposed to like take you through buying a store, do a mock setup. That's what I thought, but it's not. But you're not. It's not supposed to be theological. It's supposed to be practical. It's supposed to take you through step by step. But maybe they're not doing that anymore. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Look some of that stuff up, and I'll put it on my page. Y'all, the Tanksley's next Sunday. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. KB is a lawyer and she got stuff to do. She's a mover and shaker and a motivator.
She got
I'll be here next week.
Right. I said, but I think I said I might need to interview you, KB. I think I might need to just do and we're gonna do story time with KB. Me and Tujuana, I said I need to just do story time with KB because KB,
man.
if you guys haven't seen what was it last 2 weeks ago?
It was, I think it was 3 weeks ago.
It was 3 weeks ago.
At one point you were in Chicago.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was 3 weeks ago. That was a group. Y'all please go back and rewatch Gang. That one. That was a good time. It was a good time. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and see you next week. Good night.
Bye.